Thanks, Zoom. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our August 2026 program. We are going to kick things off. I'm Mariana Henry, past president of ICF High Country. I'm going to kick things off just sharing some upcoming events into the fall, and then one other little announcement. And then we'll do a breakout for about 10 minutes to just let folks kind of warm up and chit chat a little bit. And then we will move over into Christine's presentation. So I'm going to share my screen briefly. Now, all of you can go to icfhighcountry.org and find this information, but I thought I would share a visual. So right now, you are in the Mindful Awareness for Coaches session on August 14th. We will have Coaches Connect in September, and then in October and in November, that first Wednesday of the week in each of those months. And then in September, on the 11th, we have bold sales conversations, how to own your value without feeling pushy or salesy. I feel like that's going to be a really important session for many of us. These things just aren't talked about that often. And every time we have the opportunity to chat about it in ICF High Country, it just is a really robust conversation. And so I really look forward to that one. And then in November, our current president, Carrie, will be doing Beyond the Individual, expanding your coaching lens to teams and systems, which it's just Carrie Forte. She's awesome. So that's going to be a wonderful session. So a lot of good sessions coming up. And then the other thing I wanted to share is that we do have elections. They will be announced soon. If folks can recall, we used to be on a different schedule that we shifted recently. So we would have held elections in kind of late spring with like a June start to your board, to the new board. And so we are now on just a calendar year rollover. And so we will be holding elections in the fall. And we hope to have that board by December so that they can start in 2027 in January. Lizzie, you are here. Do you have anything to add that I've missed around elections as our secretary?
Hi. No, nothing that you've missed, just that they will be announced soon and run through for a couple of months anyway. And everything will be finalized, and hopefully we'll have a full board by the end of the year.
Yeah. And if you are at all interested in serving but concerned about time or effort, energy, feel free to reach out to any of us. Carrie, Lizzie, me, Catherine. I mean, we would all be happy to chat with you around that and kind of share that reality check of what might be expected. We can't run ICF chapter boards without volunteers. And a lot of folks have given a lot of time and energy to sustain this board. And we really, 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 really need folks to be open to serve so that we can keep being a board and keep running. So throwing that out there now. And again, announcements will come out soon. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out to any of us as well, or just admin@icfhighcountry.org. Okay, so we are going to do a little breakout just to let people chat and warm up. So I think I will just do about, I don't know how many folks are here. We've got 9, 10. I'll do 3 rooms. Christine, are you okay going into a room? Okay, I will as well. So let's just break out. We'll chat, get to know one another. Feel free to share, where you're from, where you're located, your coaching niche, and ask some curious questions and warm up. And then we will come back and start the presentation. So I will give us 10 minutes, and everyone good to go? See you soon. Hello and welcome back from your breakout rooms. How was that? Just chatting with each other.
Nice.
Yeah, I love Lillian. Clap. Yeah, the clapping. Yeah, it's always nice to just chat and get to know one another and at least have an idea of where everyone's coming from and what makes coaching special for them. So thank you for being willing to do that and taking the time to do that. And now I will toss things over to Christine Lustig, and she's going to take it away. And then we will do another breakout in a little less than an hour as well. So just so that folks are aware, stick around the whole time if you'd like to get the credits. And I will include the survey information towards the end of the session as well. So Christine, take it away.
Okay, great. So I wanted to, interesting. Okay. Uh, Pull up here. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. So we're here today to talk about mindful awareness for coaches, and please let me know if anything isn't showing up correctly with the PowerPoint or anything like that. Let me pull up the chat so that I can see it. Interrupt, ask questions, all of those good things. You guys, I think most people know about my background, my current as a coach, that I'm a coach currently. But I also have two different certifications in teaching mindfulness. I've been teaching mindfulness for almost 15 years now. I teach classes, individuals, and retreats. I have a labyrinth outside of Missoula here, and I offer open hours, and I have retreats at the labyrinth. And the reason I feel like this is such an important piece is I'm gonna go through and introduce this, but we're gonna go through the ICF competencies and note how many of them are really specific to this and how many can't be met without some sort of intentional practice around this. It would be really hard to do so. So we're really going to focus on these ICF competencies today. We're going to look at the competencies that are supported today. We're going to talk about how mindfulness awareness supports those competencies, explore what that is to you, what is mindful awareness, and what are some strategies that you can use to support yourself. And then we're going to talk actually about what that might look like for each of us. How every single individual practices self-awareness is basically different and unique. And so we're going to look at what that's going to look like for you based on your coaching day, based on the time you have between clients, based on how much time you're on video and what your needs are. So, and then we'll be able to hopefully break you into small groups so you can talk about and you can each see how you have different practices that are serving you and what you might want to add to that. So first, I want to define and kind of talk about what this mindful awareness is that I'm talking about. So mindful awareness practice is the ability to tune in, to move away from the brain, to move away from the stories going on, the biases, the judgments, the thoughts. All of those things are things that are taking us into either the past, if we're thinking about self, the past and what we've done wrong, or the future and what we're going to do wrong, or the past, we're tying what they're saying to our past or our future or the people we know, instead of being right here in this moment. And so this mindful awareness practice of returning to the present moment, returning to the weight of our body right here, feeling ourselves in the seat, coming down out of the mind, softening the abdomen, and just kind of feeling ourselves, the weight of our feet, coming out of noticing. We're only using the mind to notice where it's going and return. That's really the practice. and and then kind of tuning into our heart. And we'll talk about this a little bit, but that piece of noticing where we are and returning. People get kind of caught up about meditation when we use that word because they think, oh, I have to have a totally clear mind and that's never going to happen, or I have to be always very focused and have a really quiet place, or all the things we imagine that mindfulness needs to be. And there are hundreds of different types of meditation. But when we're talking about mindfulness and this mindful awareness, the goal is to be aware of the present moment with kindness and curiosity. So this piece of noticing when we're elsewhere and returning is the practice. The practice isn't having a totally clear mind. It's noticing when we're elsewhere and returning over and over. Because currently, we mostly train ourselves to not be aware. We train ourselves to follow the beep of our phone, follow the path of our thoughts from one thing to another, follow we listen to people and follow just along what's going on in that moment. We kind of train ourselves to be constantly distracted. We have to intentionally come back and train ourselves. As you've learned over and over through coaching, we have to intentionally train ourselves to notice, oh, what they said just triggered me with some bias. I need to return back to this neutral space. Oh, I've got some judgment going on about that. Maybe based on somebody else we know, right? Oh, I got to let go of that judgment. I don't know where that came from, and just come back to listening to this client. Oh, I was caught up in this issue because we're all human too, even though we're coaches. I was caught up in this argument I had this morning, or what I'm making for dinner, or how a family member is sick. Oh, I need to come back and focus on this client because I'm choosing to do this right now. So it is that piece of returning to the weight of the present moment. We'll go into this in more detail in a little bit, but what does that mean for our competencies? It's really applicable in competency 2, embodies a coaching mindset. We've got 2.03, develops an ongoing reflective practice to enhance one's coaching. So that develop an ongoing reflective practice of self-awareness to be able to do all of the rest of the competencies, basically. 2.04, to remain aware of and open to the influence of bias, context, and culture on self and others. So here we're really staying open to that piece of noticing when bias is raising its head, that acknowledgement that it will, that we are all biased, and how can we do that? How can we notice that? Uses awareness of self and one's intuition to benefit clients. We can't do that if we're in our thoughts. We're not going to tune into our intuition of how we're responding, or what's going to benefit the client, what insight they just had, if we're lost in thought or bias or something else. We have to be right here, listening and just experiencing them. So that piece of how we do that, are we comfortable just being right here? Returning to the weight of ourselves, giving our total attention to that person. Listening to our intuition. Have we sat silently long enough to tune into our own intuition? So big questions that are needed to follow these competencies. 2.06, develops and maintains the ability to manage one's emotions. In order to manage one's emotions, we have to first know that we're having them. That's that coming back, that mindful awareness of tuning in to that. I'm going to give us a tool for that here later today. Oops. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to move forward yet. maintains emotional, physical, and mental well-being in preparation for, throughout, and following each session. So that piece of tuning in mentally, emotionally, and physically. I'd used the terms earlier, body, mind, and heart. If we can tune in before a session and think, okay, what's one word I would use right now to describe my mind? Is it busy? Is it calm? Like, what's going on? Where's my heart? Am I easygoing? Am I sad? Am I grieving? Am I angry? Am I that, or am I happy, grateful? And where is my body? Am I in pain? Do I need water? Do I need to stand up before this session and stretch? Why are we doing all of that? Because all of those things affect how we respond to our client, affect the mindset we have for our client. If we're in physical pain and we're not acknowledging it, or we haven't had stretched or had something to drink, that alone is going to keep us from embodying this coaching mindset they're talking about. And 210 remains aware of the influence of one's thoughts and behaviors on the client and others. So always kind of being influenced, like thoughts are going to come into our head. But if we're kind of have that mindful awareness, those thoughts, we're like, oh, I don't need to say that thought out loud, or that's not necessary right here. That's more about me, or whatever it is. We have that ability to tune in and be like, nope, set it aside and come back, and go back to what they're really saying, the intuition. Competency 4. I pulled one competency. There's more of them that could be connected, but I wanted to pull out shows support, empathy, and concern for the client. This comes back to our own emotional and mental awareness. We don't often have the space to do this if we, A, aren't tuned into that they may need that empathy and concern at that time or support, or B, are so caught up in ourselves that we can't give it. The other part of mindful awareness that really helps with this, with 4.04, is the piece of we can have, if we have that mental awareness of being grounded and knowing what they need, we can also stick with this, the energy of giving them what they need without taking it on ourselves, without taking it in. And so that really takes a lot of our own mindful awareness. Competency 5 maintains presence. So again, a big competency here with awareness, remains focused, observant, empathetic, and responsive to the client. 5.01. So being able to be right here in this present moment and respond to them, noticing, and that's right, we can demonstrate that through that being aware enough to notice when their tone changed, when their expression changed, when their energy changes, all of those things. 5.02 demonstrates curiosity during the coaching process. The very definition of mindful awareness is being in the present moment with kindness and curiosity. It's the ability to return and be like, oh, what's going on right now? And we practice that curiosity so that we can demonstrate it not only with ourselves but with others, and be curious versus judgmental. 5.03 remains aware of what is emerging for self and client in the present moment. We can be, before we can tune in with ourselves beforehand and be totally in that present moment and be ready, and things can emerge based on something they say that triggers a response from us because of our past or a friend's past, based on changes outside. All sorts of things can change. So we want to always be aware of what's emerging for the self and client in the present moment. I just finished a client right before this, and about halfway through, I noticed there were sounds in their background that I could hear, and that I could see them really struggling to focus and respond to me. And so that ability to just be aware that, oh, they're being distracted by things around them. There's things I can do to help bring them back. I can just give them the space to give them their focus and come back. I can just be aware of that and drop a gentle reminder, whatever they seem to need, but just being aware of what's emerging for us as we move through. 5.04. And noticing if I'm getting distracted by those sounds, right? Maybe I'm also feeling that, like, why is somebody in their space making all that noise, right? Whatever the judgment is in my own head as I'm listening to it. That's what I'm really remaining aware of also. 5.04, managing one's emotions to stay present with the client. Again, that's another way of referring to what we were talking about in competency 4 and 2, but that piece of noticing when we get caught up in something that's going on for us personally or something that's going on in our thoughts, and being able to manage that and return to the client. Doesn't mean usually it's not burying them deep and never coming back to them, but it is in that present moment being able to stay present with what we're committed to. And not 55, but 5.07 is creates or allows space for silence, pause, or reflection. This is really important. I've had a couple of reminders of this week with clients, a couple of reminders of what really comes up when I give that space, when I don't jump in with something. I noticed in my own training where a lot of coaches they would comment on how they weren't comfortable with this space. Like, how much space do I need to give them? That feels weird, right? So this ability to practice silence, practice sitting with ourselves in mindful awareness, and doing practices that help us become comfortable in that space really benefit this ability to give that pause and that silence. I have some clients who are just like, I'm sorry, I'm just taking so long. And I'm just like, I can wait here all day in silence. That's totally good for me. And so just that gentle encouragement of letting them go beyond is so important. I don't know how many of you experience this. I'm guessing I'm probably not the only one, but I get quite a few clients who will respond quickly and then act like that was the answer, right? Like, oh, I know what the answer is. Here it is, And if I'm quiet longer, other things are going to come up. Or if I say, and what else? And just fall quiet, right? That piece of really helping, we have to become comfortable with our silence so that they can become comfortable with it and give themselves that permission to pause. So those are a lot of competencies that are really benefited by our ability to practice being in the present moment, sitting with stillness and silence. And that means different things for those of us. Stillness for some people is being totally still. For others, it may be walking like in a labyrinth, or if for people on the neurodiverse spectrum, there may be some fidgeting, but it's still what's stillness for them. That's really different, I think, for a lot of people, and really beginning to manage that. Silence is different for everybody, and we can begin to tune in and gather that intuition. But we have to practice what it means for us. So I want to look at some strategies of mindfulness. So grounding is usually coming back into this present moment. We can experience this present moment through a variety of things. So we can usually experience it through, and not everybody does it the same. Like earlier, we can experience it through our body, and people will sometimes come back to just the weight of their feet on the floor or the warmth of their hands on their legs. And as I go through these things, I invite you to kind of gently try them, kind of note what that feels like for you to come back to the feet on the floor. You may even rock your feet from your toes to your heels. And just notice what it feels like to feel that when you were caught up in your head and listening. Or to place your hands on your thighs and be like, oh, it does kind of have some warmth. And kind of tune in to the weight and temperature. Sometimes it can be tuning into where we feel just where the tension is and going through and softening, like, oh, okay, the stomach is always tense. Come back, soften it again with the next exhale, or the shoulders or the jaw. Breath is traditionally something that's always taught in mindful awareness because we all have a breath. But I will note that about a quarter of the population, the breath actually causes anxiety instead of calming. So if we don't know that, if we don't accept like that, we try to force ourselves to focus on the breath when there are reasons that we don't focus on it. Maybe we were taught to be fearful when we were growing up. If there was trauma, people will live in a very shallow breathing, and so focusing on it can be really even harder. If they have asthma or things like that. So then we give them the body or other parts. But for those where the breath works, focusing into that wave of the breath, the expansion of the inhale, the softening of the exhale, and just the feeling of that. Just stopping. People that say they don't have time to do a practice or to tune into themselves, just doing 3 breaths, just coming back to our feet and dropping out of our mind is going to be beneficial multiple times a day. I should say that I was one of those people before I got my certifications and practiced. I was that person who was like, these people are crazy. I do not have time for meditation. I am way too busy in my life. And I was a director of distance education. I ran college courses across 7 school districts in Wyoming, which are over 3,000 square miles, in addition to 12 fully online programs, and had 120 faculty under me and another 40 staff. I didn't have time for that. And then I learned, when I took the time, I actually got more done through the day. I was able to focus in the meetings. I didn't make as many mistakes. So it is that piece of kind of changing that mindset around what we have time for and what we don't. Do we have time for distraction and being unfocused and mistakes? Or do we want to be in that present moment? The last grounding, we got the body, the breath, our sensations. So we can always ground into the present moment using our senses. Using sight, we can let our eyes settle on something that is colorful or joyful for us, or just identify 5 things around us. We can settle into our hearing and just gently identify a couple sounds that we hear. Maybe traffic or neighbors, birds, the refrigerator. We've got sense of smell, especially lovely in the mornings if we're drinking coffee or tea or We've got something in the oven. With this cool weather, I made some, was so excited. I made some zucchini bread this morning. So I have the smell of that in the house. Taste can be a tricky sense, but we've got this taste, and we can take a sip of our water or tea or coffee. Keep some dried apricots near us if we like taste, and that helps settle us. And then that sense of touch. So we might notice that some people will have something they can touch that's soft or that has a specific texture, or even just a rock or something that brings them back to the present moment. And that's also where that feeling of the feet and the hands are something that we can often return to even when there's pain in the body. So those are the methods we have for grounding. Breath work is something that's really popular with people. Our breath naturally, just having that awareness of our breath, that it is what excites us or calms us. It's meant to do that. Our breath is meant to work with all of the other systems in our body and with our nervous system to keep us safe. So if we sense danger, the breath is going to get faster because that's going to get air into our lungs and blood pumping, and that's going to allow us to move away from danger. Right? If we live, and that's for very short periods of time, right? If we're very calm, usually when we're breathing faster, we're also breathing more shallowly. So that's where that long-term danger really affects us in our nervous system and our stress and the organs of our bodies. But if our breath is calm, that means that whatever that is for us, deeper, longer, the whole nervous system is calmer. We can soften into it. So we use that with breath work. If we want to be focused before a coaching session, doing 5-6 rounds of square breathing is one of the most effective ways to balance out our nervous system and be focused. It's what's taught to first responders, to police, to people in the military for focus. And square breathing is the thing that square breathing is we've got 4 parts to our breath: the inhale, the pause after the inhale, the exhale, the pause after the exhale. Most of us don't pay much attention to those pauses, and they can be what tightens us, what causes us anxiety if we focus on them. So there's lots of exercises you can do on square breathing. You can simply Google square breathing visual. But you can also just count. And I'm just going to demonstrate a couple rounds just so you can notice what that is like. And we usually just start with 4. And with the pause, just pause. Don't hold the breath there. Just pause the breathing. So it would usually go like inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. So there's lots of types of breath work out there. but this is the one I return to over and over again. If I'm sitting in traffic and I'm late and I feel my nervous system going up, I'm going to do square breathing as I'm sitting at that stoplight that I just sat at for 2 rounds. If I'm just have been had back-to-back coaching for 3 times and I have another 3 in front of me, I'm going to take 2 minutes and do some square breathing. Possibly as I walk around in a circle in my house or back to back, back and forth in my hallway. So breath work, using it intentionally to either give ourselves energy in the afternoon. So then we're gonna increase the inhale if we're increasing energy, or to bring calm, and then we're gonna increase the exhale. But most often in our situations, we're using it to focus, so trying to even those things out. The purposeful pause is the exercise, is what I call that exercise of tuning in and checking in with our mind, body, and heart. Those are the 3 things that are going to distract us most from a coaching session, from being there with that client. Where's our mind today? How busy is it? What do I need to do to calm it? Where is my heart? How distracted or distraught am I by world news? Did I pay too much attention to my phone? What do I need to do to come back? And where is my body? Is it in a good place? Do I need to stand during these sessions? Do I need to stretch first? What do I need to do? That's just that information. It's giving us that information of what we need. Oop. And notice and return. So that piece of even the simple practice of sitting for a little bit and being like, okay, notice when I'm gone and return. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Let it go and return. That practice of not listening to the mind, letting the mind go, knowing it has stories to tell that we don't have to listen to, and we can return over and over again. That's the practice. And then I've already gone over the 5 senses. So being able to just, if that's what really grounds you, making it a habit maybe before a group of sessions to make yourself some tea or something that smells. One of my favorite sensory breaks is to sit down in silence with an orange or a grapefruit and peel it and eat it, because it just brings me into the present moment, the smell of citrus so much. So knowing what senses really land for you. Is it stepping outside in your gardens for a minute? Is it whatever it might be? So these are all strategies. When we think of mindfulness, we think of meditation, and it can look like meditation, but mindful awareness generally looks also like these intentional breaks multiple times a day, so that we can be in the present moment to do all of those things that the ICF competencies are asking us to do. Now, what does this look like for you in your coaching routine? We all have different coaching routines. Most people here know that I've been with Strawberry, so that means strawberry.me coaching since last October. So that means my coaching sessions are 50 minutes long. I have 10 minutes to follow up with that client, get myself some water, stand up, sit back down. How many of those can I handle in a row, right? So knowing that for myself, preparing what my days look like, and knowing what are the intentional pauses I need to do. I know I need to do a longer pause in the morning regularly to prepare for that day, to set myself. I need to do short pauses throughout, especially knowing if it was a hard session or a session that triggered something in me or brought up something in me. I'm going to need to do something before that next session, right? What do we need to do after? If I have 5 sessions in a row, what do I need to do before I leave my office and face my husband, who's going to want to talk? And I just coached for 5 hours in a row and I do not want to talk. So I need to do some more mindful awareness to kind of clear out, soften, relax a little bit, and go out and be my best for him. So that piece of how can we be the best for the people around us and ourselves outside of coaching, this is also supporting that work. So I'm going to use some of those strategies at different times through the day, before, after, or during. I'm going to have longer daily, weekly. A few times a week, I'm going to walk the labyrinth before or after as a way of resetting myself back into my community, into my grounding, and just being right here in the present moment. Or go for a hike in nature. Right? What does that look like for you? That's going to be different things for different people. Sometimes it looks like the paddleboard also for me, or just being able to spend a half an hour, if that's all I have, in a garden, listening to the bees and the hummingbirds. People think, oh, well, I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't do anything. There's no difference between doing self practices and doing a guided practice. One is not better than the other. It's doing it that's important. So if you want short, regular practices and you're not sure what you're doing because you've never focused on bringing yourself back to the present moment, use an app like Insight Timer, which is a free, you can pay for a paid version, but it's got thousands of meditations for free. You can choose, I've got 3 minutes. I need a meditation on letting go or whatever I need it on, and just pause and listen. Right? So you can do that type of thing also until you get used to it. What are the resources you need? How are you going to set yourself up for success? How are you going to take on practices? Use all of the things we do in competencies 7 and 8 or whatever that we ask clients at the end. How are you going to put this into practice? What are your resources going to be to set yourself up for success for your practices of awareness? So returning to the present moment over and over with curiosity and kindness, letting go of the mind. Literally coming out of the mind and letting go of it. This is the practice you're going to need to succeed in those competencies. Okay, we're going to put you into, let me stop my sharing for a second here. Whoop. We're going to put you into breakouts, and I'm going to ask you to share kind of what you've done in the past, things you want to implement, areas that I really especially invite you to share, areas where you are both strong, like, oh, I do kind of do that, and areas you want to improve to meet those competencies in with each other. But first I want to ask, are there any questions about anything I've said, any experiences you've had that have been negative and so you've never revisited this again afterwards? Any questions you have about mindful awareness and how it affects how we coach through those competencies? Okay. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and we'll break you into groups. Excellent. Thanks, Dawn. We'll come back and debrief after that and have a little bit of time to debrief. and be ending on time. I'll stay out of the groups this time, just to let. Okay. Mhm.
Okay, is everyone ready? Okay, we'll have 15 minutes. Christine, it's still showing you in one, but you can just not join when it tries to, yeah,
Sounds
or
good.
just pop back in.
Okay,
So,
no
all
problem.
right, I'm going to open rooms and we have 15 minutes, folks.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. I hope that was a fruitful discussion and interesting. Um, I would love if anybody wants to share anything, any insights, any areas that you recognize in the competencies you want to create more awareness around and practice around.
Mm.
Christine,
I'll go. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we were talking a lot about the senses, and Mariah brought up how she has something in her hand that she's touching that helps her focus in on the listening. Yes, that little leg. And so did Janine. We're talking, she does paint by numbers. And that's usually why I'm off camera in meetings that are educational, because I don't want to be distracting as I'm doing other things to help with the focus. Now, when I'm talking one-on-one, and Janine brought that up too, that's different. But when I'm with a group of people, and so as we're talking about these strategies of how to stay focused, because I am neurodivergent, I'm ADHD, and it's a little different because people take, it's hard not to interrupt. It's being able to, I don't always have the eye contact because it's just not how I look at people. And so I just really loved, as we talked about the senses, that was just one of the strategies that Mariah brought up, and just loved it. Thought it was great.
Wonderful. Excellent. Yeah, almost 100% of my clients that I get through Strawberry are neurodivergent in some way. And gosh, I actively take that. And I love seeing how they each have their own strategies. And so much of it is just really encouraging that. Like they think they're missing something. And I'm like, you already seem to have a strategy for that. Like where you can use that. It's okay.
Yeah, sometimes it's that acceptance of
Mm-hmm.
this is what works for me and that's okay. Everyone has something that works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So touch. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Lillian, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, I appreciate the way you connected the ICF competencies with all of this too. I hadn't made that connection. So it kind of reiterated all that for me and kind of deepened my knowledge more and just made it, I don't know, more of a reminder, I think, to me to review those periodically, I guess, and incorporate all of that too, which I try to do. But it was a really good reminder for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm good. Yeah, as I'm beginning my preparation for my PCC exam, I'm like back in them. So, but you do have to.
Oh, yes, yes. Mhm.
Love it. Love it. What does anybody have strategies that they may have already shared with their group, but that didn't bring up, or something different that they use to return themselves and ground themselves back in the present moment that they'd like to share with the group?
I'm happy to share something that I shared in my group.
Mm-hmm.
This was, working with neurodivergent clients, and for myself sometimes. Sometimes there can be that resistance to those traditional things like meditation or breathing. And so something that I've been working on, especially over the last year with clients, is um, using something else that kind of is that sensory reset, or is kind of like that bridge, to get them into a place where then they may be able to do some of that mindful breathing or some other kind of grounding technique. But it may need to be something like, a cold glass of water, or a popsicle, or, a sour candy, or something else. It's kind of a central nervous system thing, that creates that little spark, that gets them to a place where they can then maybe use some of these other techniques. And that just helps to kind of sometimes release that resistance a little bit. So that's something that I shared in my group.
Nice. Thank you. Great. Mariah.
No, it's a little less conventional, I guess, or more unconventional, is verbalizing what's happening out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, give me just a second. I just noticed my thoughts kind of went somewhere outside of our coaching session. Or hold on, I just got distracted by something. Give me a moment to come back. It helps me when I am verbalizing it. I have to first name it and know and recognize that it's happening. And then I also want to just make it like get permission to, we don't have to be fully present 100% of the time. We cannot be, but we can catch ourselves and bring ourselves back. And so done that since even my kids were very, very little, just like, oh, I'm noticing I'm getting frustrated right now because this car just cut me off. And it's so funny how it just like automatically makes you less frustrated, or brings you back into homeostasis a little faster than if there was a trigger or a distraction, anything there. So just verbalizing it, talking it out loud is one of the best meditations I've ever done. To keep me centered, just out loud everything that's coming up, the thoughts. Oh, I noticed my foot's kind of asleep, and now I want to think about groceries, and just kind of doing and letting your mind do this little thing out loud was really cool. So if you find yourself wanting to mix up the meditation world, some verbal ones are an interesting mix.
Yeah, that's a great way to model, actually, though, for clients, that piece of exactly what Mariana said there, that piece of giving them that permission also to be distracted sometimes, right? And that's the reality of our spaces, even those of us at home in I'm at home in my own quiet space, and there's a window right here. And so I will sometimes be like, I'm sorry, an eagle just flew by, or two fawns just jumped out. Like, I'm going to come back and do that, that piece. So I love that authenticity. Great.
I had that today with just, it looked like maybe a much like teenage brother walking past on the sidewalk with like 5 little boys behind him. And it was just like a mother and her baby ducklings. And I just, sorry, 5 little boys just like walked by, and my client was like, oh, that's cute. It was funny.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you everybody for coming today, for participating and interacting in the breakouts and things. I hope this was useful. I hope everybody has a takeaway they're taking with you. Please do fill out the survey. I think we have to fill out the survey for the CCEUs. I get those letters mixed up sometimes. And I'm going to go ahead and put my for anybody that please feel free to reach out to me. My website's there. You can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. LinkedIn is just under Christine Lustik. So I hope to stay connected with all of you and continue learning with you in these ICF sessions. And thanks for coming.
Thank you so much, Christine.
Thank you.
Christine, if you'd like to stick around a little bit, I'll stop the recording, but if folks want to ask any further questions, and that gives people time to do the survey or at least access it from here. And then, you'll get the follow-up emails with the survey as well, and also with the recording in, a few days or so. So I'm going to stop the recording right now, but thank you so much, Christine, for today's session. Folks can stick around.